Hi, I'm Manga Captor, and I haven't really updated you guys a ton on what I've been reading, so I thought why not put my March and April highlights into one video and we can just speed run this thing. You see, I would talk about everything I read in March and April, but it would be a really long video, and from now on I think I prefer to just talk about highlights of each month. Highlights won't always be like the best things I read. It could also just be material that I read that was very thought-provoking and maybe confused me a little, left me mixed, and that's what we're going to start with. And then after that, we're going to enter the best reads I had of March and April, and they will progressively get better. And finally, I'll show you what was the best thing I read in all of March and April. Also, there will be no spoilers in this reading wrap-up. I will never share spoilers. If I do, it will be very explicit that it is a spoiler video, but I don't have any plans for doing that. I really don't like spoiling series for anyone because I feel like most people watch these types of videos to get recommendations, as do I, and I like to savor the story and not have any piece of it ruined. So don't worry, I will not spoil anything. So let's get into it. So starting off is Tokyo Babylon. I recently picked these up and I read them right away. It's such a mixed bag for me. So this series is a supernatural one. We follow Subaru, who has these powers that can basically put spirits to rest, and that's his profession. And so Subaru lives with his twin sister Hokuto in Seishiro's house, I think. And Seishiro is this 25-year-old man, and Subaru and his twin sister are both 16. It's very strange that they live together. What's even stranger is that this 25-year-old man basically love bombs Subaru all the time, to the point where it is pretty annoying. And it doesn't help that his twin sister Hokuto is the cheerleader for that relationship. Subaru is not into it. He in fact tells Seishiro to stop multiple times because it clearly makes Subaru uncomfortable. He's just a kid who has these supernatural powers. He's helping people out, doing his thing, trying to grow, and this guy is kind of just love bombing him and being emotionally manipulative. So yeah, this volume did not leave a good impression on me. I will say that towards the end, the story developed in a way that was intriguing and added some mystery. So I was compelled to read the second volume right after. I did enjoy this volume more, but I will say there are some pretty strong trigger warnings in this volume and throughout the series. So I'll go ahead and put them on screen now so you could be aware of them. I also really came around to liking Hokuto, who is Subaru's twin sister. In the first volume, they really didn't do her justice at all. They made her seem like just this annoying teenager, and she still is in a lot of ways, but she is also growing, and she is someone who has a very strong opinion. She's very confident, and she feels comfortable to talk to others and express herself and make genuine connections, and that's really portrayed in this volume, and I really enjoyed that. And I just wish the first volume gave us more of that, because the first volume of a series is so important. You really need to hook the reader and convince them to read more of the story. There's still a weird dynamic between Seishiro and Subaru. Seishiro continues to bother Subaru, and Subaru continues to tell him to stop. And that is something that, bothers me, because I feel like when someone says to stop, you really should take it seriously. Now, he doesn't necessarily make any intimate advances on Subaru, and that's why I actually decided to read it, because I checked online and found that there is no intimate or physical relationship between those two characters, because if there were, I couldn't read this, to be honest. So yeah, I'm enjoying the story for these two characters, the two twins, Hokuto and Subaru, and I'm really curious to see what other supernatural adventures Subaru is going to go on. And yeah, that's my not so quick wrap up of Tokyo Babylon. Let's go ahead and talk about the things that I did love, from best to even better. So one of my highlights was volume 5 of Usotoki Rhetoric. I believe that I said volume 4 was a little bit, I guess for lack of a better word, boring for me, and it made me feel like maybe this series wasn't going to be worth collecting physically and reading, because I'm very picky about what I put on my shelves. Or am I? Actually, am I? Because I have Tokyo Babylon, and that's a series I feel iffy about. So actually, never mind. So volume 4 wasn't that great. Volume 5 was much better. I just really enjoyed the characters that were introduced in this. I enjoyed the mystery that was solved in this volume as well. And I'm just still loving the friendship between Kanoko and Iwai. They just have such a respectful relationship, but also like work relationship because they work together. She's like his apprentice and he's like this hotshot detective, basically. At least he likes to think of himself that way. But yeah, this series is just, it's a great mixture of things. It's got cuteness, it has silliness, it also has like some drama from the mysteries that these characters embark on, and I am really enjoying it. Moving on to another highlight. The next best thing I read was the Gamogawa Food Detectives. This is basically summarized as a cozy mystery novel. I will say though that it's not very mysterious at all. Instead, I feel like this novel is better summarized as maybe like healing fiction or just cozy fiction that revolves around food. Basically, there is this father-daughter duo that run this restaurant, and they are able to recreate food from people's memories. And these memories are always broken memories. They don't remember exactly what the dish looked like or tasted like. They don't remember the ingredients or anything about it sometimes, and these chefs have to figure it out. And they get to recreate the meals for their clients, and their clients basically get to kind of have a therapy session through eating this food. And I think that is such a sweet and interesting way to write a cozy fiction book. So yeah, this is a slow read. It's completely character focused, just people eating food, healing from it, and learning more about themselves, growing, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, I enjoyed this. It was good. And the next best thing I read was Wish. I read all 4 volumes. So this is a short and sweet clamp series about this angel that is caught in a tree. She's being attacked by a crow. A human saves her and she's like, "Thank you so much. Because you saved my life, I have to repay you. So I will grant you one wish. What's your wish?" And the guy is like, "Actually, I don't need anything, so don't grant me a wish." But he just so happened to have ran into heaven's most purest, kindest angel, so she is very insistent on granting him a wish. And so basically this creates a standstill where she is just going to stay on Earth living in this guy's house until this guy figures out what his wish is. I enjoyed this story. It's not my favorite, but it was still a really nice time and a very emotional time as well. This is basically just like a romance fantasy story, and I think it did a pretty good job for only being 4 volumes long. The artwork is just also very nice. All of the volumes have like these really pretty colored pages on the inside, but for some reason my volume 3 didn't come with any color pages. They're just in black and white, which is amazing. Okay, and then volume 11 of Spy Family. This is my favorite volume in the entire series of Spy Family. And I'm not gonna spoil it, so I can't exactly say why it's my favorite, but oh my gosh. Like, if you've read this, you know. And I wish we could talk about it. If you haven't read volume 11 yet, you're in for a ride. That's all I'll say. I feel like this series has been really consistent in terms of story quality, at least for me. I know this isn't everyone's cup of tea, but I really enjoyed this. And my next highlight is The Other World's Books Depend on the Bean Counter. This is the light novel, and I really enjoyed it. This is basically BL, isekai, fantasy, forced proximity, romance. Yeah, it's all of those things. And it delivers, in my opinion. This was a series that I was iffy about, but so many people were talking about it. I felt like everybody was talking about it. And I think Cake Tins is actually trying to convert people to loving this series, and I have been converted. I first heard about it through her videos, and then I also heard Suki Notes talk about it. I've heard Liddy Moon talk about it. Everybody's talking about it. And I wanted to be in the little book club, so I started with the light novel, and I really enjoyed it. So in this story, you have this workaholic, this man right here with the suit and tie, who just works himself to the bone, but one day he discovers that there is a young girl being isekai'd, and this workaholic, Seichiro, decides to rescue her, but he also gets sucked into this world. And upon entering this new world, people are like, what the heck, dude? You weren't supposed to be here. So what do we do now? And they're basically like, you know, we'll just give you whatever you want, so just tell us. And he's like, yeah, I want a job, which doesn't make sense to anyone. He gets this job, realizes that it's a mess, tries to fix it, and he kind of just starts burning himself out. But on top of that, he's kind of like allergic to magic, which is just amazing for him. And so he basically gets rescued by this handsome commander named Aresh, and Aresh quickly realizes what's going on. And there is only one treatment to cure this man, to save this man, and it's to sleep with him. Yeah. Which is such a weird like premise, and that's largely why I didn't really want to read it, because I'm like, that sounds lame. It actually isn't as weird as I thought it would be. There is some respect and care between these characters, and you could imagine that through this forced proximity, maybe a little budding romance starts to happen. It's just a fun read. It's a read that I can just turn my brain off to, and I'm just enjoying it. I picked up the manga recently, and I'm excited to get into that, and I'll let you guys know what I think about the manga. And so now we're basically getting down to my top reads of March and April combined, and one of them is Bless. This is a manga series about makeup, and I love it so much. So the main character here, Aya, was scouted to be a model, and like that's how he is known as, but he doesn't really want to do that. His actual passion is to do makeup, so he decides to like partner up with one of his classmates, June, who is this really pretty tall girl in his class, and he basically just does makeup on her. Through that, he's able to express himself in this art that he so loves, but at the same time, June also blossoms and gains this new confidence. And June has a lot of freckles, but I'm so happy that this manga doesn't have Aya cover up her freckles. Instead, this manga is very freckle positive, which is great considering it's a makeup manga. I feel like so much makeup really highlights covering up freckles and stuff like that, but I feel like freckles are just really beautiful. This series is very much about following your dreams, being ambitious, doing what you want, not caring what people think. The main character, Aya, has this really strong ambition to just grow and develop himself as a makeup artist, and he feels like he's kind of late to the party despite only being a high schooler, and so he just really goes all out, and it's just such a fun series. Honestly, I'm really enjoying it, and it seems that there's going to be some romance between the two main characters, Aya and June, which I'm interested in. I wonder what will happen between them, if they will just be friends or if it'll blossom into something else. This was one of my favorite reads, and I'm just so excited to continue reading this story in the future volumes. And to no one's surprise, one of my favorite reads out of these past 2 months was Volume 4 of Yokohama Kaidashikiko. I have talked a lot about this series before. It is my favorite slice of life. I think it is the mother of all slice of life series. It is just fantastic. It's a story that takes place in this post-apocalyptic world that has been hit very hard by global warming and just natural disasters, everything. And basically so much of Japan is sinking, and our main character, Alpha, lives in an area that is still above the water, and she runs this little coffee shop, and she meets some locals who become friends of hers, and she kind of just experiences life day by day, learning to appreciate the small things. And I just love how sensitive she is to everything, to taste, to emotions. You can really tell that she is fully experiencing things and appreciating them. It's a really nice series that reminds me to have more gratitude for things, so I really love it. And the best thing that I read these past 2 months is The Little Mushroom Duology. I did a reading vlog of this series, spoiler free of course. I really enjoyed this. This is such a like angsty sci-fi dystopian read about humanity falling and desperately trying to claw back. The main character is in fact a mushroom, and they appear human-like because they have ingested a human corpse. And so he uses this disguise to go into the human base and try to retrieve his spore that was taken from him. And as our little mushroom protagonist goes and searches for his spore, he comes across Lu Feng, the executioner, who executes everybody basically who has been infected, and he seems very cold-hearted. but somehow, some way, a romance starts to bud between them. So I will say in terms of the romance, there's not a lot. It's very subtle. So if you're expecting a very gushy series, this is not it at all. It is very much just an angsty read about the end of days and the different trials that humans have to go through to survive, basically. And it kind of tackles some existential questions. There's a lot of existential dread, a lot of what is the point of kind of living and continuing to survive. It also talks about just how strong human determination can be. I really enjoyed this. This was my favorite read, and this might not be that surprising to some of you who did watch my reading vlog because I talked about how much I loved this. And that concludes my highlights for March and April. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like. If you'd like to watch more content like this, go ahead and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.